Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with Weekly Comic Book Roundup. Well, we got actually kind of big week this week. I don't recall there being a Wednesday that's been this big in a while, really. But anyway, so let's get started. Kick things off with this week's X-Men books, starting with Children of the Atom number 5. Where we left off, the Children of the Atom had been captured by the U-Men, with the exception of Nighty Nightcrawler, who had returned with help in the form of the X-Men. So the issue is told from JJ, Nighty Nightcrawler, from the perspective of JJ, aka Nighty Nightcrawler, and he's dealing with a lot of just kind of personal issues. He doesn't feel like his brother wants him around anymore. Yeah. And the only time he feels good is when he's in costume. But we start back at the end of the last issue with the team getting captured by the U-Men and JJ going for help trying to think who to call. First the Avengers, then the Champions, but with the whole Kamala's Law thing, probably not the best idea. Then he remembers he's got a contact device for the X-Men. So he calls them from in front of the Krakoan embassy. We also get a study of their gear. So Cyclops lass, Beatrice Buddy Bartholomew, heat beams, laser cutting tech inside her visor. The kids theorize that this is welding tech. Cherub, Gabe Brathwaite. Flight via thrusters that look like wings, and a sonic/acoustic blast from a tool that is designed as a hand harp. The kids theorize that this is mobility and demolition tech. Carmen Maria Cruz, aka Gimmick. Absorption and manipulation of kinetic energy and the ability to damage or to charge objects with that energy through gauntlets/gloves. Charged objects discharge their energy through controlled explosions. The kids theorize that this is some sort of excavation technology. Okay. Benjamin Benny Thomas, aka Marvel Guy, can affect living beings through pheromones by a small handheld tool incorporated into his gloves. It appears as if it is psychic suggestion, but it is closer to a chemically induced empathic suggestion. The kids theorize that this tech was primarily used to clear areas of animals, or maybe as perimeter control, as it doesn't cause any lasting changes or harm. And finally, JJ Thomas, aka Daycrawler, aka Nighty Nightcrawler. Short-range teleportation of self and or other objects via a small teleportation field generated on his belt controlled by tech in his gloves, which operates a little like folding space or creating a small wormhole. The kids theorize this tech is to aid in sample gathering. Note, the smoke comes from a small smoke machine that Carmen rigged to go off whenever JJ teleports. Their headgear blocks telepathy, which they got off the mutant paraphernalia black market. Some are pieces of old Magneto helmets that were modified and sold, others are from unknown origins. All of them, however, were modified by Carmen and incorporated into the costumes. So, the X-Men and Nighty Nightcrawler fight the U-Men. And Wolverine basically said, hey, there's going to come we can only do so much if we're not doing with X-Force rules. But the human has some tech that seems to affect just those with the X gene. Meaning it not only affects the strike team of X-Men, but also Carmen, who has begun to exhibit a mutation. So the rest of the kids go after the guys wearing the U-Men wearing the vests that are doing this to the X-Men, and they manage to disengage it enough so that the X-Men are fighting fit once again. We get some shots of Cyclops Lass and Cyclops working together, Nightcrawler, Nighty Nightcrawler working together, Marvel Girl and Marvel Guy working together. You know, neat stuff. The scientist in charge of the U-Men escapes. The X-Men basically say, "Hey, look, so we get that we get what you're doing. That's great. It's admirable, but with the current climate, we would suggest that you stop." Cradle marks them as criminals, as breaking the Cradle, not knowing them to be humans using tech to approximate powers, label them as well criminals under common law. Krakoa, however, says a Krakoan official basically says, "Hey, they actually took down a group of anti-mutant terrorists, so yeah, they've done a great service to mutant kind." Later on, they're getting stitched up, dealing with how they feel afterwards when Storm shows up to invite Carmen to the gala, as Carmen is, in fact, a mutant. Also, Benny and JJ, basically, kind of, I want to say mend fences, but it's a little more than that. Benny's, of course, thankful his brother saved the day, and apologizes for being mean to him. Basically, no matter what else is going on, they're brothers. But that is where the issue ends. And it seems that the next issue will be the last issue. Which brings us to it doesn't feel rushed. I think or it could simply be that the story is coming to an end. But it actually didn't feel rushed. It kind of did feel, a lot of it felt drawn out, and in fact the next issue is supposed to center on Carmen going to the gala. This is a problem I have with the fact that Marvel sat on Children of the Atom for as long as they did. The Hellfire Gala, even if they just if they had made a point of getting the previous issue out, so that issue 6 would coincide with the Hellfire Gala. Yeah, maybe Marvel shouldn't have sat on the title for as long as they did. I mean, yeah, I get it. Last year was difficult, to say the least. To be fair, I kind of thought that we weren't even going to see Children of for a while. But, yeah. Anyway. I mean, it's I guess as good an issue as the other 4, as the previous 4 have been. Not great, not terrible, just it just is, Next up, we've got Hellions number 13. Where we left off after the gala, Sinister had been attacked by Mr. Sinister. We also get some callbacks to the attack on the Purifiers, post Ten of Swords, and the fact that Nanny is raising the emergent AI offspring. Grey Crow tries to talk to Psylocke about what's gone on of late, but she tells him that he has no idea what she did and to stay away from her. Nanny yells at Orphan Maker, Grey Crow and Orphan Maker kind of bond a little, and but they talk briefly, and then Grey Crow asks if Overmaker wants to clean guns. There's also a request for escalation in recent when it comes to interviewing Mr. Sinister about mutant deaths at Amenth. Basically, he appears to be dodging questions, and well, yeah. So he's basically asking if someone could maybe, get to the bottom of what happened telepathically. But Sinister's attacked by. So, quick flashback. Ten of Swords. The Hellions went into Amenth the idea was to steal the Iraqi swords before they were claimed. The mission went horribly wrong because, of course, it did, and it was suggested that Sinister lead the mission himself, and so he seemingly went along with it. By which I mean he sent a clone. Well, the clone survived, and apparently has been tortured by Tarn the Uncaring for months. Well, maybe not months, but for however long. And so, he wants revenge on the real Sinister. Havoc has a moment of uncomfortableness talking with Grey Crow, who kind of mentions the fact that, I saw you at the party. You were trying real hard not to see us, though. And Sinister's personal alarm goes off. But the Hellions show up, asking what's going on. And it turns out that the deaths of the three surviving Hellions at the hands of the real Mr. Sinister. Well, yeah. The rest of the team learns of this. But it turns out that the Sinister clone did not come to bar Sinister alone. He also came with the Locus Vial. And it does appear that we'll be getting a rematch between the Vial and the Hellions. Not a bad issue. I get the downside of the Hellfire Gale is it did kind of disrupt everything. That it did disrupt a lot of other titles, including Hellions. But it is nice to see them picking up on other plot points. Also, nice to see the return of at least the Locust Vial. Whether or not Tarn will be... well, I'm sure Tarn will be returning eventually, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, not every issue of Hellions is going to be great. I know that. Or entertainingly great, at least. But yeah, it was fun enough. So, I did enjoy it. And actually this did kind of tone down a lot of the fun factor. But it still worked. It did so in ways that made sense. Which brings us to our next book for the week, X-Force number 21. Major plot points left over. Everyone's pissed at Beast for the Terra Verde situation. So we begin months ago off the coast of Washington. A facility for the disposal of chemical and nuclear waste is about to melt down. X-Force goes to save the day. But something else is there also saving the day. A apparently telefloronic creature. Wolverine fights it in the water briefly, and it spits something in it, some kind of gunk in his face. But the fisherman that Wolverine saved from him, this is creature wasn't trying to hurt him. I think he was trying to save him, but he's not sure. Apparently, though, the sample has been studied. It bears a resemblance to Man-Thing, Ted Sallis. And there are some similar, some odd occurrences. Walter Whitmer, a businessman who has ties to Xavier's businesses, woke up coughing green mucus next to a very dead young man. A phone call from an unlisted number basically said, oh, and there's a camera running too. So the murder, him killing the young man was caught on camera. But he's told to sever all business ties with Xavier. One member of Congress shot and killed another one. Both who were in favor of the advancements that Krakoa medicines could bring about. Turns out she was also under control of some kind of green mucus. The officer guarding the New York gate tried to kill I want to say Esme Cuckoo and Kid Omega before seemingly destroying herself. But going over everything, the analysis is basically that there is a plant creature, loose in the Pacific Northwest and trying to help people. X-Force goes to investigate. Of course, there's a fight because, when good guys meet, they have to fight. It's the law. Everyone knows this. I believe it's called the world's finest. I don't know. I'm pulling shit out of my ass. But after the creature fights them mainly just as a means of managing to escape. The Wolverine continues to explain what it is, why they're there, and comes back down. So he can't go back to Weapon Plus. Now, if you'll recall, a few years ago there were some Weapon Plus one-shots, among them being World War IV, which did deal with further versions of Ted Sallis' work with the project, namely the creation of Man-Thing. But it turns out that, of course, Weapon Plus is being financed now by none other than Xeno. But a lab report by Dr. Cecilia Reyes does pose an interesting question. Could the mutants living on Krakoa be similarly affected by Krakoa? The basic idea is that The Man-Thing strain, including the manslaughter sample, seems to concentrate its effect on the autonomic nervous system, resulting in a flood of cortisol and adrenaline, the chemicals of fear. And the question then becomes, could the same be said of the food they eat grown from Krakoa? And that is where the issue ends. That was actually really cool. Neat to see a new. It's refreshing to see a recent X-Men related pre-Krakoa X-Men related book get kind of have at least be at least halfway mentioned in a Krakoan X-Men book. And the Weapon Plus one shots were actually really neat. So but it looks like, but yeah, it was I appreciate the idea that apparently Quentin Quire is one hell of a sicko that even Domino can't tell when he's joking now. But yeah, moving on to our next book, we've got X-Men #1. And yes, I will show up the full cover. Alright, so X-Men #1. Our prologue concerns the life of Kelvin Heng. Graduated summa cum laude from MIT at 13. 15, had his first unlucky business creation. His first IPO earned over $100 million on day one. His parents believed him to be a one-hit wonder and shorted him. And left him. 5 years later, he came roaring back. No longer Kelvin Heng, simply calling himself Fei Long. His second IPO promised planet-sized innovations in biology and climate science. And he turned a lifeless desert green and accomplished what had never been done on this planet. He sought to give his gifts to humanity and its conquest of Mars for years. Fei Long planned carefully, and then, one night, the gods mocked him. Yeah, he's not too happy with the whole what happened about the mutant announcement when it comes to Mars. In New York, the X-Men have created a new base, the Treehouse. In part, it serves as a monument as a memorial to mutants who have died. However, also and of course, Cyclops is there at the Treehouse and runs into Ben Urich, who has some questions. One thing, he is very curious about Jumbo Carnation. After all, there was no question that Jumbo Carnation died. Well, when it happened at least, but somehow he's not dead anymore. How is that? Of course, Cyclops dodges the question. Sync and Forge are working on the tech. We, the readers, are given the tour via Polaris being given the tour. And we also get this quick history. It was basically planted within the span of a night. It was planted and grown in the span of a night. Forge and Tempo helped. But something is crashing into the city. Rogue goes to intercept, and it turns out to be tech thing that actually sends Rogue for a bit of a loop. So the rest of the X-Men go out, deal with it. It has a neural weapon which causes migraines, which manages to cause migraines. So Jean tries to do what she can to protect as many minds as she can, but yeah. Sync, who's still synced with Forge, basically builds a mech for the X-Men to control and take on the creature. They do so, but an arm is lost, but a hole is made, and Wolverine goes in and promptly manages to mess it to knock the thing down, clearing later that she needs a shower. Also, some other points of interest when it comes to the treehouse. The onboard jet is referred to either hasn't been named yet, but will either be named the Thunderbird or the Proud Star after John Proudstar. Thunderbird, the first X-Men to die. Part of it is as part of the whole thing with the treehouse is a memorial to mutants who can't be resurrected. But they study the creature. It turns out that it's designed as a wean. The weapon was designed only to protect mammalian brains, so the Wolverine thinks maybe someone out in space hates dolphins. But it turns out it came from Game World. The whole the plan was to wipe out all human life on Earth, as well. Humans are a bit troublesome for the rest of the universe, and hey, it's a planet in a habitable area, in a habitable zone. So why not? Watching the festivities is the High Evolutionary. We get Ben Urich's column about the treehouse, and it's actually really neat. And someone is doing some odd genetic experiments in a particularly evil part of New Jersey, and trying to figure out just how it is the mutants are bringing back their dead. And that is where the issue ends. We also get an ad for the space lawyer that Sunspot hired back in New Mutants, basically asking if Arakko has caused anyone distress. Seeing as how great of a lawyer he was for Sunspot and the New Mutants, yeah, I don't see him winning too many cases on behalf of those who feel slighted by Arakko. But solid first issue. It should be fun to see where things go. I remember being some people who were kind of turning their noses to the book after a statement made by writer Jerry Dugan, I'm not sure if it's hard or soft G, to be perfectly honest, but about how it was going to be more traditional superhero fare than current X books. But the idea basically being, we did all this really crazy stuff, now we're just going to go back to the status quo. But it's like, okay, yeah, it does feel a bit more traditionally superhero-ish, but you do still have everything, all of the Krakoan politics in the background, so all of that is being kept in mind. Moving on to the final book for the video, we've got Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 14. Where we left off, the Assassin Death Stick was hot on the trail of Bounty Hunters Valance and Dengar. Meanwhile, Bounty Hunters Tonga and Losha were embroiled with the what are they called? the Moors Whale Syndicate deep in Hutt space, who were being attacked by Crimson Dawn. So, while on the run, while running from Deathstick, Valance has been injured by her, and so Dengar takes Valance to a mechanic he knows, whom he also owes money to. Tonga and Losha are dealing with Crimson Dawn, but they have a secret weapon. A trained Nexu. And that which does manage to turn the tide in the favor of the Moors Whale Syndicate. Turns out Bib Fortuna's trying to double cross Boba Fett through with Dengar, but and apparently they're apparently keeping the character Manaru around from the Legends backstory on Dengar. Manaru was Dengar's lover, but she's being held to force Dengar to work for Jabba the Hutt. And he wants proof of life from her, but Fortuna refuses. But Dengar tells the mechanic what he asks about Crimson Dawn, and she kind of gives a bit of backstory. During the Clone Wars, the Shadow Collective emerged, uniting much of the underworld. Imagine getting Black Sun, the Pikes, and the Mandalorian Death Watch to work together without killing one another. Someone did. Then again, there was never really a choice. Among the syndicates that were convinced was a band of murderers and thieves called the Crimson Dawn. Then suddenly, it all came crashing down. After the Siege of Mandalore and the rise of the Empire, the collective crumbled, gone as quickly as they appeared. Many of those syndicates went deep underground, but the truly ambitious will not stay hidden for long. Crimson Dawn returned deadlier than before. Cold-blooded murderers like Dryden Voss wreaked havoc across the Outer Rim. At least until some nobody killed him in cold blood. But after a few years, the Crimson Dawn just disappeared again. Some say the Dawn never truly left, lying in wait for something big. Okay, alright. And it turns out that Valance did manage to get, with a cybernetic eye, a good enough look at Deathstick to create a holo of it, which when they're asked, who did it to him, he shows them, and that's how we learned that he has his name as Deathstick. And yeah, Deathstick followed them. But Tonga tells Camus of the Mourning Whale Syndicate, the Moors, the Mourners Whale Syndicate, about that apparently he has a granddaughter from two very powerful bloodlines, and Camus tells Tonga to hide his granddaughter, and because Crimson Dawn won't rest until while there's someone who's the combination of those two bloodlines alive. But Deathstick tears up the mechanic's shop. Dengar and Valance barely escape in a not quite fully repaired speeder, which crashes. Well, at least the two bounty hunters are able to escape. But Deathstick has a beat on them, but has been told not to drag things out, not just to kill them, by Kira. that is where the issue ends. Interesting. I like kind of going into. I like the fact that it does go into a lot of the background of Crimson Dawn and some of the stuff from the Clone Wars. Now, for me, the Clone Wars stuff is actually kind of important because I didn't watch the Clone Wars cartoon. All right. I don't like the animation style that's been employed by Lucasfilm since the Clone Wars animated movie. So, I haven't watched any of their cartoons. I liked the more traditionally animated Clone Wars shorts that came out shortly before Episode 3. Those were great. And if Clone Wars, both the movie and the cartoon, had been in that style, I would have eaten up every episode. But it weren't. So, anyway, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.